What's up, everybody? You know what time it is. Your boy Jeffrey L. Boney here for another hot edition of Real Talk Junkies Live. So glad you joined me on today for another great edition. I want to encourage all of you to share the link with all your friends, your family, your foes, your enemies. It doesn't matter. Everybody needs to check out the link today. And of course, I want to always engage with you. So chime in on the chat, share your thoughts and your opinions on today's topic and subject matter. And as always, I want you to go to the Forward Times website to go check out the latest news for and about the Black community, forwardtimes.com. Again, that's forwardtimes.com. And of course, I want you to engage with your boy, Jeffrey L. Boney, at jeffreylboney.com. Again, that's jeffreylboney.com. And don't forget to pick up the latest book, Don't Argue With Me, a no-nonsense approach to the issues in the Black community. We're going to get right into it today. Real heavy subject matter today, but it's very important. You know, we have some serious issues going on right now in the greater Houston area, everybody. Sadly, it appears that elderly attacks in the greater Houston area in 2022 are at an all-time high. They're on the rise. Now, let me just share a few of those that have occurred in 2022 alone. In February of 2022, there was a 73-year-old Houston woman that reportedly was attacked by her Uber driver in Northwest Houston after the rider asked if she could stop texting and driving. So according to Harris County Precinct 4 officials, 22-year-old Naponica Brooks was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and injury to an elderly person after she allegedly pulled into a parking lot, grabbed this senior citizen by the arm and purse, yanked her out of her car, grabbed her phone as she was trying to call 911, threw it to the ground, and then sped off. After a Good Samaritan saw what had happened, they reported that Uber driver's license plate number to the police. They called that police officer, and the Harris County Precinct 4 officials ran the plates and tied that to Ms. Brooks. Two incidents also happened in May 2022 involving our elderly citizens. The first involved a 74-year-old woman who was attacked in a church parking lot in Southwest Houston. This lady was walking into church on that Sunday morning when a man allegedly punched her in the face and knocked out two of her teeth. He took her cell phone, took her wallet, and took off. Anyway, this lady, Miss DeLeon, suffered broken toes as well, and she was punched and thrown to the ground, and her assailant was thankfully caught and arrested. This incident was sad and troubling. The second incident in May, and this is all in 2022, y'all, involved an elderly man with a cane. He was, and according to investigators, he was walking behind Walmart when he was approached by a group of 6 teens. The 6 teenagers, 2 boys who were probably between the ages of 16 and 18 years of age, and the 4 girls who were somewhere between the ages of 14 and 16, started harassing the elderly man. According to investigators, the elderly man started to swing his cane around to try to get him away from him. But once he started doing that, they continued to try to harass him. The girls told the young boys, hey, stop, leave, let's go, let's leave him alone. However, one of the teens, as they was walking away, turned around, took out his gun, and fired 1 shot into the chest of this elderly man, killing him. And he was transported to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead. Let's go to August 2022. I keep telling you, this is just this year alone. An 87-year-old woman was found dead inside of her home in Northwest Houston. She had spinal fractures. She had bruising, chest injuries. She also had a bite mark on her stomach, according to investigators. And let's just go to the month of November. We just celebrated Thanksgiving, right? Well, anyway, in this month of Thanksgiving, there were a couple of other incidents. Early this month, there was an 82-year-old woman who was followed by 3 men to her house roughly about 15 miles away from a Bunker Hill shopping center near the Katy Freeway. She was shopping. Little did that lady know is that there were 3 criminals that were actually casing her out, and the police department, the Houston Police Department, was watching what was going down. Those 3 individuals followed this lady to her house, but HPD followed both of them. And so when they almost got to the lady's house, HPD intervened, took those individuals in custody, and they were arrested. And that lady was able to avoid any potential issues. Another incident that occurred this month, in the month of November, occurred actually with a 72-year-old man who was beaten with a hammer in an apartment complex in Cypress by a 19-year-old young girl. and he had bleeding and swelling of the brain. Listen, this is not a message for us to highlight these savage crimes, but this is for us to pay attention that we cannot allow no more cruelty and elderly abuse as far as our elderly citizens are concerned. And with that being said, all communities should advocate and take advantage of making sure that our senior citizens, our elderly, are looked out for and protected. And it's important for us to do so. This particular Thanksgiving as well, of course, it's supposed to be a holiday where families gather, reflect, get together to express their gratitude to God, for, all that he's provided. Well, there's a family that didn't get that opportunity to fully express gratitude and thanks without having to think about in reflection the things that happened to them. And here to talk about what happened to her father today is none other than my colleague that serves in City Council in Iowa City, Iowa Colony, none other than Miss Councilwoman Arnetta Murray. Come on up.
Thank you.
All right, let's give it up for her, y'all.
Thank you.
All right, welcome to Real Talk Junkies.
Thank you for having me.
So your dad, Reverend James Hicks, was missing for about 8 hours or more.
Mm-hmm.
I know you put out a Facebook kind of clarion call after you found out what happened. But let's go back to prior to you doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You got a call from your daughter?
Yeah, exactly.
So tell us what happened.
Basically, my daughter went to go check on my mom because I was at work, and she said, "Hey, Granny's phone is busy or it's not working. Something is up." I said, "Okay."
So wait a minute. She went to go check on her because the phone was busy?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So she usually calls and checks on her.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And we both do, but
Okay.
but she gets off earlier than I did, so she said, "That's okay." She said, "I'm gonna go by Granny's."
About what time was this?
Oh, my daughter had to call me it had to be about 3:30 because I get off at 4.
Gotcha.
So, from HISD. But anyway, put that in. So I said, "Well, you go over?" She said, "Yeah." So, okay. So she went over there to my mom's house. She said, and she called me. She said, "Mama, Granny said Papa been missing for 8 hours." 8 hours? So she and my son, my oldest son, Aaron, they decided, she called my son and her brother, rather, and so they went down Martin Luther King, driving up and down I'm at work. I'm in the car leaving, crying, upset. And so I had taken a break from Facebook. So I said, okay, what do I do? Got on Facebook and started sharing about what my dad. In an hour, I had 292 shares. And I went to my mom's house. I said, "Mom, what happened? She's like, I don't know. He went to the store. And she said he hadn't been back. I said, "Why you calling about himself?" I didn't want to worry anybody worry. It's beyond that. So I was upset with my mom. I'm not going to lie. I was upset with everybody. I was upset with my son. And I was just upset,
Why were you upset with your son?
Well, I guess because my mom said she called him to pick him up and he never responded. So my dad got frustrated and just went walking to the store.
Oh, okay.
My dad just got that alpha mail.
Yeah. So was it common or is it common for him to walk to the store? Or
a lot of times he does walk. He does. My mama but this time we keep telling her, "Mom, he's not the man you had 61 years ago," because I've been married 61 years. So you just can't let him go. And so she said, "Well, he just wanted to go to the store," but he didn't make it to the store. My daughter went to Crestmont grocery store to talk to the owner.
So this is in South Park?
South Park, where I was born, where I was reared. Went to Sterling, and was, yeah. And South Park. And so he said, "I know your dad, that's my friend." He said, but he didn't come to the store.
And this is with the owner of the
Crestmont grocery store. So from where my parents lived on Elm Tree, he had to walk to maybe to Selinsky, or before getting to Selinsky, something happened.
So how far away from the house is the Crestmont grocery store?
It's not far. I mean, you go
couple of blocks?
Yeah, about three blocks. I say 3 blocks. But it's not far at all.
Gotcha.
It's a good workout, if you will. So for that to happen, it just shocked me. And so I got a call and said, "Miss Murray, I saw your post and your dad he had an accident and he's at Pearland Memorial." I immediately went to Pearland.
Now this was an anonymous call?
Anonymous call. All I saw on my phone, I'll never forget, it was Memorial Herman Pearland. I said, okay. So I answered it immediately. And so my thing is, "Yeah, live?" "Yeah. Ma'am, can you come up here?" And I'm on my way. So I drove. My son finally made it to my mom's house after the search for my dad. I said, "You stay here with mom. I'll go up here because my mom is 90. She don't need to be in the hospital right now. COVID is still real. I don't want to put nobody at risk." Got up there. I was shocked when I saw my dad. I just thought he was going to be, disenchanted. But when I saw the eye and I saw the gash in his head and his face was swollen, and I said, "Daddy, what happened?" He said, "I fell." And I was like, "No, you fell from somebody hitting you. This is not a fall." And that's all he kept saying. "I fell, I fell." He couldn't tell me who, what did you, "Daddy, where did you go?" "I fell." That's all he kept saying. So when I talked to the nurses, I said, "What happened? Who brought him in?" I mean, I'm trying to understand what's going on. The lady said, "Ma'am, a good Samaritan brought him in and left." I said, "Y'all didn't get any information?" And she said, "No. They was just trying to get, I guess, taking care of my dad." But I was not happy about it. Just to see my dad in that position, I'm like, he's a former minister, HBU graduate, Houston theology graduate. I mean, married 61 years.
Well, in looking at his resume, and it's important for the viewers to kind of understand that, he's just not just some random elderly person or senior citizen. I mean, it's a military veteran.
Yes.
This is a former United States Postal Office worker.
31 years.
Retired, 31 years, which is an active service in itself. Like you say, a pastor who pastored for over 20 years. And just really, has given of himself to be a minister to others, take care of his family.
Yeah.
So, this is a contributor to our community.
Yes.
A man that has lived his life not only serving others, but serving and protecting and being there for his family. And now, per you sharing, he's suffering with the early stages of dementia.
Yes, sir.
And for those that may not know, dementia is just, sometimes the inability to remember certain things or to respond in ways in which you have traditionally done so because of your faculties being a little bit deteriorated.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it is.
And so, so when, and there are a lot of, some of the individuals that I talked about before bringing you on.
Yes, sir.
These people have stories. They've lived their lives. They've done things. They contributed to society. They've been productive citizens. And here they are vulnerable in our communities. And, and it saddens me that we don't know what happened to your father.
Yeah.
So you're left to wonder and to, I guess be even more so concerned if it could happen again to somebody else or to your father.
Exactly. And it hurts. I'm trying to contain myself as a councilwoman, as an educator. My dad had us walk down those streets, MLK. And I'm just going back. I had to go to the convalescent homes with him and sing to the elderly and give to the elderly. Walk down to New Orleans apartments and do the 4 gospels with him. My daddy had me going to church so much it was ridiculous. I said I wasn't going to go to church when I got grown. And so, because we grew up at Bethel Baptist Church, which is right there at 5530 Salinsky, where Reverend Nemo was my pastor back in the day. My dad was associate minister there. So for that to happen and to see all that my dad did in that community, man, it hurt. That hurt. Yeah, I'm not going, that just, and not to know. And I know, and I had people, councilmen saying, well, be thankful he's alive. I kept hearing so much. And I am thankful. But I want to know what happened. And I want the perpetrators to be dealt with according to the law. I don't see nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not.
So
let's go back a little ways to when you say you got to the hospital.
Yes, sir.
When you got there, I'm sure did they tell you, okay, he's in room X, Y, Z. And so when you got there, you say you saw his face,
just
his eyes swollen, his face swollen, his gash in his head, and you mentioned about his knuckles being scratched. But let's talk about, what you were able to glean from him from a memorization standpoint. You say that the only thing he could tell you was that he fell, but did he remember anything else?
No, I kept asking, how did you fall? I fell, Ned. That's like, my name is, call me Ned. And that's all, I just fell. And he was very abrupt. And I knew, okay, not to push it, And so I said, Daddy, your eyes, and I'm trying to talk in a more calmer, I'm a daddy's girl. So, your eye, and Daddy, you see this? And yeah, I fell. And that's all he kept saying. So, I let it be. But I wasn't happy with it. And so, and then, later on, when my mother finally came up there, she was determined to come up there. She said, James, I fell many times. I didn't get a black eye. So we kind of laughed at that. I said, that's what I said, Mom.
Right.
And, and a gash in the head. I never, So, it was hard, man. And just for him to think that. And I'm like, Mama, look at this. Look at Mama. I say, he had to fight. He was fighting. I know it. He was fighting. And, for nobody to know, it just hurts. And then, and my mom, and I saw what he had because they took, he had a gown on or whatever. But I looked at his bag. He had on a teal suit, a long beige jacket, and one of those Kango hats. So he looked like a minister walking down there, walking the streets. Why would you bother? Mm. So I just want to know what happened, and I'm taking measures. I had a rally the last week, if you know, and the rally was very well attended. Ministers, I had community leaders, Dr. Candace Matthews, Representative Ron Reynolds. It's a movement now. We got to be more.
So, was he near the store? Does anybody know anything? Like, where was he actually found and picked up?
Nobody knows nothing. That's what hurts. Nobody knows nothing.
Well, anybody that may be watching this, and I hope that anybody that's been paying attention, if you were that good Samaritan, you need to let Arnetta, her family, everyone, the police, investigators know where you found Mr. Hicks. What condition? What prompted you to see about picking him up and bringing him in? Exactly. This is important information that we need to gather to find out exactly what happened to him. Now, in talking with investigators, I'm sure you have.
Yes, I have. It's a report.
Were there any surveillance cameras anywhere or anybody? Because we have to kind of look at the fact that people have these Ring cameras on their houses now for doors. There may be somebody in that area that in his trek of walking, whereby because if he didn't make it to the store itself and the owner didn't see him, so he had to have gotten stopped, or he may have made a detour or picked up something.
And that's what because when you look at where my parents live in the when he walked to the store, it's just straight down MLK. It's right there at Selinsky. So I agree with you. Somebody saw something, but they're not reporting. So I've done a police report. I've contacted Crime Stoppers as well, but it's a process. I didn't know. I don't know anything. I was telling your producer, I said, this is new to me. So I'll be meeting with the investigator today and this evening, and we're going to talk about, where do we go forward? Because Councilman Boney, I'm not stopping until I find out.
Yeah.
That was my dad. The only man that loved me, that has been there for me since my 56 years. I will not rest. I will not give up until I find out who did it and they go to jail. And we impart a movement to make sure other elderly people do not go through this. This is unacceptable.
I am in the Forward Times this week. I actually wrote about this, and the title of my article this week is "Hands Off Our Elderly," and of course I talk about some of these incidents that I shared at the beginning of the program, and of course your father. But it just seems like there is a lack of respect and care and compassion for our young people. I used to travel to China quite often on business, and upon doing so, just dealing with the Chinese culture and the Asian culture, one of the things that it's different in Asia than what I know we have experienced here, at least today's time, post civil rights movement,
They love
is that they look at the elderly like we look at our kids. So with our kids, we are protective of our kids and don't want nothing to happen to them, and always around them, and let them stay in our house till they 100 years old and all this type of stuff. And are open to that and welcoming to that. But when it comes to our elderly here,
America,
they seem to just like really ready to discard them or don't treat them with the love and care and respect and put them in a nursing home or whatever, this, that, and the third.
That's
which
right.
is, if that's what you have to do. I mean, of course, I'm not knocking somebody.
Exactly.
Because you may not be able to be the best caretaker for that individual.
Absolutely.
So that's not a knock on people who do that.
I know what you're saying.
But there are some people who just do it because they don't want
to be bothered
at all. And they don't have that love and care and compassion for their parents that raised them when they couldn't bathe themselves and clean themselves and feed themselves. Whereas in Asia, China, they treat their elderly
yes, they do.
with the utmost respect, care, love, concern. They bring them in the house. They make sure that they take care of them until their dying day.
They sure do.
And they view them with more esteem, care, and concern and attention than they get the kids.
They sure do. You're right.
And
you're right.
If we could have a healthy balance in America, and just even more so have some level of care and dignity for our. I remember when I was in high school. And I remember this one, it just seared in my mind because I was really pissed off. And I checked this dude on the metro bus. I was heading to the Sharpstown Mall. I don't know if you remember Sharpstown Mall.
I remember that.
It's called Plaza de Americas or something like that. I don't know what it is. Different name, but we used to catch the bus all over Houston.
Yeah, right.
But this particular day, went with my homeboy Mark to Sharpstown Mall. And we were headed there. And this one lady, older lady, had gotten on the bus, and it was packed. The bus was really packed that afternoon. And one of the men was like, "Hey, young man, can you?" Not to me, but to one of the dudes on the bus was like, "Hey, can you mind getting up so this lady can sit down?" And he cussed this man out, and this guy was probably in his late 40s as well, so he was his elder, but, he wasn't this lady who was, at least, like early 70s or late 60s. And, the lady had bags in her hand and just, and he refused to respect the fact that, let me get up and I said something. I did, I checked dude because I was like, first of all, I had to think about my mom and my grandparents. Now, I must admit, in writing the article this week, reading these stories that I just shared, I was brought to tears. I lost my mom at the age of 57. I lost my dad at the age of 59. Didn't get the opportunity to have them grow old in my sight and under my care. I really wish that I envy people who have their parents and don't take care. I mean, that do have the ability to take care of them, but I despise those that do have their parents or grandparents who did so much for them and treat them with such despair, disdain, and lack of care and love, and because it's like, come on, man, that is a huge emotional. I was emotionally spent writing this.
I know you were
over the past several days, including before we even went to print. I just was like, this is just a lot. The ages of the people that I just shared with you, 70s and 80s. I'm like, what did an 82-year-old woman deserve to be punched in the face going to church on a Sunday morning, just to be robbed of her purse and her wallet or her phone. What did a 84-year-old man, deserve and walk into the store, in his suit, deserve to be punched in the face or have, physically assaulted? What did this older lady who just was telling this young girl who was about to hit a car while she was texting and driving as her Uber driver, hey, do you mind getting off the phone, to the point where you get that upset where you want to stop the car
and beat her
and yank her out the car and throw her to the ground and treat her like that? I mean, what would be in the heart of a person, a 19-year-old girl, to take a hammer and beat this elderly man? What would be in the heart of some teenagers at the age of 14 to 18 to assault a man, and then, you know what, you could just walk away, let him be. He ain't assaulting you or bothering you at all, but you turn around and take out a gun and shoot him in the chest and kill him. What is in the heart of a person, in the mind of a person that would do that? And so we really have to, and I join you in this, make this a major part. And it's something that me and my barber, Louis Good, had talked about. We were wanting to actually, we're going to do, we have an effort, because we cannot allow our elders to feel unsafe.
Absolutely.
In the neighborhood that they grew up in, that they raised their kids, that they paid taxes, paid off their house, paid mortgage, and are living in. They cannot afford to feel unsafe.
You preaching.
I am preaching, because we have to step up, man, and it can't just be, I live in Missouri City, but I grew up in Southport. I grew up in Third Ward. That's my home. I still have my mother and dad's house in Southport.
That's right.
And so I refuse to sell it, because that's the house that I was raised in by my parents when they got their first house.
Right.
And it's sentimental to me. But my thing is, I look at these elders in the community, man, they cannot afford to not feel safe.
They cannot.
This is their home.
They home.
They can't feel like prisoners in their own neighborhoods, their own home.
And let me be clear, my mother's very feisty. I'm making a point. I asked her to stay with me. She was so quick to ready to go home. You got some elderly people that want to go back to their home.
Yeah.
And so you have to respect that, because you can't, like my mama said, hold them hostage. So you said the key word. I'm sitting here, I'm glad I got my glasses on, because I'm just tearing up to think about. And it's not sometimes a stranger, sometimes your own family member. If they're being neglectful, if they're not answering the phone, if they're not there the way they should be there, that's a problem.
Yeah.
I believe in, and I do it. I have written to the Elderly Protective Services. If I don't see when I see injustice, even from family or whatever, hey, this is what's going on. I believe you got to do right. And I'm going to say this. Some of these young people don't care about our elderly. Even if it's their grandmother, even if, I'm sorry, because you and I, we wasn't raised to fight or to bother elderly people. The most we'll do is go to the store and get some candy.
Yeah. Now I will say that I Miss Leola next door to me, I couldn't stand her for a long time, because she was a snitch. And so she would always, be watching out the blinds. I see them blinds moving, and then all of a sudden my dad and my mama know about something that I did, and I'm like, God, I couldn't stand her. But you know what? I actually grew to love and respect her, because she was looking out for her community.
Her community.
So I looked at it as her being a snitch, but she actually was being a protector.
A protector, exactly.
Of what's hers.
Exactly.
This is her house, her neighborhood, her community.
Exactly.
And so she was protecting the community from the elements that were not supposed to be there, that would be a plague to our community.
A plague.
So, a plague to our communities. And so you're right. There is a lack of respect.
And whose fault was it? I heard a minister say the other day, whose fault is that? Is it our fault?
Well, absolutely. I'm going to tell you who I believe, and I write about this in my book. It's not anybody's fault but the beneficiaries of the civil rights struggle. Those that actually came, not the ones that were a part of the struggle. I'm talking about those that were beneficiaries of
The
it.
Jubilee, us. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The baby boomers, those that came out of the civil rights struggle as the children who now, through this so-called integration,
Come on now.
now feel like I've arrived and I don't have to care about family and having this village. It takes a village to raise a child, that African proverb, and just having that mindset and that we look out for each other. We were forced to live amongst each other and care about each other because we had a common enemy of those that were against us. But then now all of a sudden, when we felt like we now all of a sudden have arrived or a part of, think that we're part of everybody else, uniformly, then, we start shifting and moving away from our values, our core values, who we really are as a people, who we really are inside. And when those values erode, then you get what we have now. This is nothing but the product of what we have, the seeds that we have planted. These are the seeds that are being sown from the seeds that have been planted. We planted these seeds by our lack of imparting those values in our children, by our lack of keeping them abreast of why it's important for us to love our neighbors as ourselves, or love our family and put God first, family
that's right,
second, and things of that nature. So there's an erosion of values in our community, and we have nobody. It's not about pointing fingers per se.
Absolutely.
But somebody got to take responsibility, right? Somebody's got to take responsibility. I was a part of a 8-car pileup on 45 North late last year, and I did not cause the accident.
Right.
There was a green car in the front. They spun out and did some erratic stuff, caused the accident, drove off. They drove off. They weren't there, but everybody else crashed into each other and boom, boom, boom. 8-car pileup. Cars damaged. People ran. I ran into the median, going about 60 miles an hour. Thankfully, my life was spared. Nobody was killed or seriously injured. But I ended up having to take responsibility for the accident, my part of the accident, because per the investigators, I still don't believe I was responsible. But per the investigators, they did an investigation of the scene and determined who was responsible for hitting this person and this. So although I didn't cause the accident, I still was responsible for what happened to this vehicle that was on the side of me. I was still responsible. So whether I want to take responsibility for what happened or not, the investigator who looked into it said, you're at fault. And so my insurance had to pay for that vehicle and the damage caused to it. My point is, so many times we really want to avoid accepting responsibility, even when someone points out to us it's our fault, that we were responsible, that we were the ones that caused this issue. And I think that a lot of us don't want to have that finger pointing at them and saying, you know what, and looking themselves in the mirror and saying, I'm responsible for what these young people are doing to our elders. I'm responsible for the lack of respect that our kids have for their own lives, let alone their parents or their grandparents.
That's deep. And then once you admit that, you have to move forward. How do we move forward? Awareness. Going into the different civic communities where our elderly are, churches, wherever they're at, and start talking, start helping, start making them aware, start bringing resources. And that's what I'm about. I'm about what can we do to move forward. We need to, I just believe this. I'm just a different breed. They need some defense classes. They need to learn some defense measures for me. I think that, hey, let's teach them how to carry something as well. A little pistol, make sure it's concealed. We have to start arming our elderlies, number one, and then number two, we got to change these laws. The moment you put a hand on them, you going to jail for 10, 20 years. I don't give a flip. We got to start making sure, and that's what I want to do, talk to our different legislatures. I am not playing because guess what? You and I going to be elderly. We need to have things in place.
Not anytime soon.
No. Let's get clear. Hold up, we got some years here. But if we put measures in place for us, we're gonna be okay. And that's what I'm about. And it's not a moment. I keep saying, it's a movement. They brought this to me. I'm an educator. I was fighting for teachers, honey. Even though I go to Miss Lewis, you know I love you. I go to your house and eat drink that diabetical tea. I never thought, because that's what they give me when I go over there. I never thought that I would have to be the voice for them. I was fighting for teachers. You saw me. You see me on Isaiah. You see me. I'm about teachers.
Right.
Now, it's about our elderly now. I don't know why. And I'm going to need you, all of us, to make this a national movement. You said the key word. And I told somebody, do you know Asians love their elderly? But we treat them like, I'm not going to say what I want to say. We treat them so bad. No more. And if we don't do nothing this time, I keep telling you, this is not a feel-good thing. I'm working on it. I've been working. I'm working more harder. Bonnie, it starts from us with being on council. All of us, we got it. Because I'm telling you, I'm bringing it to my mayor. What we have in place for our elderly people here? What we doing? You need to do it in Missouri City. Churches. It's a whole, it's just, we got to go straight and go hard. And if we do it here in Houston, it would be a national movement. I know it.
Well, one of the things that I want to do is I want to get with many of our colleagues that are part of the National League of Cities, and I'm a part of the Race Equity and Leadership Council. And I want to see what type of programs that many of our colleagues in cities across the country are doing, as well as Texas Municipal League. And that way, we don't have to recreate the wheel per se. And maybe we could do some things that are working in other cities that we can implement in our various cities across the greater Houston area.
That's good.
But at the same time, I totally agree with you. It goes back for me when I was championing the efforts for Miss Doris Davis, who was being taken advantage of. I wrote the story regularly, and many people who follow me, knew about it. But she was being taken advantage of by the guardianship program,
right?
And they basically had deemed her to be mentally incapacitated, and they took all of her assets and put her in the guardian program, gave her a conservator to receive. And took all of the assets, et cetera. And to control her. And so, but she had her wits about her. And I keep her picture of me kissing her, on the cheek, relative to how she would come in here and sit in Karen Carter Rich's office in the Forward Times, and just, she had no issues. She had no issue. She was as sharp as, but she didn't want to be in that program because she was being abused. And she was able to communicate what was going on with her.
And And
so that coupled with, the fact that, our elderly can't go and go to the convenience store in their neighborhood or the grocery store in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
They can't sit on their porch. They can't go from their car to, because not in many of our Black neighborhoods, particularly, Black and brown neighborhoods, particularly in Third Ward, South Park, we don't have no detached garages or garage that you open up the garage door and go into the kitchen, into the living room or whatever. They, you got a carport or not.
Or not. Like my mom, they changed it to
or not, but you got to get out of your car, come outside and go in the house from the front door. And so everybody's not privileged and blessed to be able to just open up your garage door, drive your car in, and then close it. But even with that, even in some of our suburban communities, there's a lot of attacks and stuff happening to our elderly.
That's right. In the suburban, you're right.
So I really want to work with you on that more so. It seems like we have so many issues in our community.
Say it again.
We have so many issues in our community, but as the saying goes, there's only one way to eat an elephant, and there's one bite at a time.
Yeah, one bite at a time.
And so if we can just focus on, in our own respective areas, what our passion points are and how we really want to make a difference and an impact. And I don't mind, using my platforms and my resources to try to make a difference and an impact, but something has to change, and it can't just be rhetoric.
It cannot.
It just can't be talk.
It can't. I talked to Bishop James Dixon today. He's really concerned, and your friend Representative Ron Reynolds, and you all are amazing. And then Dr. Candace Matthews. Those are foot soldiers. I think those people in yourself, and we're gonna get it out. As you said, I'm in the Texas Municipal League. Do you have things already laid out? Why is it? I've been to a lot of classes there. They've never talked about elderly. You know that. I've been to the classes. Why? What do we have in place? And if you don't, what can we do? The Texas Adult Services, Elder Protective Services, what can we do? Let's make a coalition. Let's make sure we're doing what's best. And you said a key word. Even those who work with those elderly, they're abusing them in those convalescent homes. They should be in jail. Let's have hidden cameras. They want hidden cameras, and they want cameras in the classroom. Well, why in the hell we can't have cameras in the convalescent homes?
Right.
We have to do things differently. Yeah. And I guess me, you, and others, I'm trying not to cry. I'm seeing this through because I don't want nobody to go through what I went through.
Well, I know that it is something that, you just don't want to hear it, but I am very grateful to God and thankful to God that what happened to your father did not end in something that we are
That's true.
crying even more so about.
Good point.
It could have been worse.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of instances like the ones I shared earlier that turned out to be worse.
Yeah.
And God forbid, it will never happen to anyone in your family or my family or anyone, period. But unless we deal with the root causes of some of these things that lead to activities and behaviors like this, and try to deal with the mental illness aspects of stuff, because a lot of people dealing with mental illnesses.
Yeah.
They dealing with a lot of different substance abuse issues.
This life is hard.
And I was just looking at something on social media the other day. Somebody was just railing and just talking about their childhood and about how their parents abused them and it caused them to lash out. And that's why they are experiencing some of the stuff that they've experienced as far as their activities or their behaviors. And, it's just sad, when you think about it. Look at what happened in Mexico with the girl who
the friends,
the so-called friends.
Yeah, I told my kids about that.
The so-called friends, and it's on video.
They
what happened,
that.
and it's supposed to be your friends. What's going on in the mindset of our young people today? You look at what happened. They just found the body of the young man that was missing for over a week in the Heights. His friends, so-called friends, were driving his car and left him.
Oh.
And so it's like, how do you leave your friend when you know he intoxicated? I mean, how do you do that? And you drove his car away?
So that's when he was walking. They showed him walking.
Yes, but my point is, how do you do that? What is in the mindset of our younger generation that, and I've been young once, so I know a lot of our elderly before then would be like, talking about me, how you listen to this rap music, this gangster rap and all this stuff. And I used to do
but we wasn't beating up no elders though. We wasn't beating up nobody.
Nah, man, we wasn't getting down like that.
No.
We weren't getting down like that. But then you still had, I think, moving towards that level of disrespect, you still had some levels of disrespect even then. And when I was growing up, because, you can't tell me what to do. And then, you had a lot of us that did not have father figures in the home.
True.
And didn't have leadership. And so we gravitated towards gangs and different other types of activities that, we were looking for family.
True.
We were looking for love. We were looking for attention.
True.
And we looking for, guidance. And, I remember one time, Arnetta, I was sitting on the corner with my partners right in front of Payless Supermarket at Crest Ridge, and Southtown Street by MLK. Church's Chicken was there, the car wash was over there.
I know.
And I remember me and my partners, it was on a Sunday morning, and we was just sitting there, and we were actually, of course, doing what we did, but we were talking about, we started talking about God. We started talking about purpose. We was like, you know what? I said, I believe God got a purpose for us. I don't know what that purpose is.
Wow.
But because keep in mind, I wasn't going to church at this time. I didn't grow up going to church. Unlike you, I going to church every day with your dad. And
it don't mean now, you know what about Preacher's kid, though. I was a little fast. I was a little fast now. Come on.
But I got you. Well, both PKs are. But what I was going to say is we actually were talking about purpose and like God and like why are we here, like and we not no church going dudes, no kids. We just talking about purpose and God. And I remember vividly, and I tell this story a lot. This Lincoln Town car, which is one of the couples that lived on our street for many years, Southtown Street, and they passed by. This was Sunday morning. And they passed by, and I remember the lady, she's in the passenger seat, pointing at us. And she had a little fancy Santa hat on, and Easter, looking like Easter hat, but every Sunday they be wearing these fancy hats. So they was dolled up on their way, dressed to the nines to church. And she pointed at us, and I could just tell it was like this. The way she did it was, I knew she was like, it was like a condemnation type of a point. Like she was talking about us to her husband. And I remember seeing her do that, and it really did something to me because I said to myself, man, they on their way to church and they not even understanding that we sitting here talking about God. And you never one time stopped to talk to us about God at all, but yet
you gotta tell me.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You going to church, but
his church right here.
Yeah. I mean, here we are here.
That's right. That's church right there.
We the ones that you should want to come holler at.
Yeah, exactly.
We the ones that you need to preach to.
Exactly.
Outside of those four walls and pew. We the ones that you should have come and evangelized to. But you was too afraid of us to come holler at us. And I think it goes back to the point about the lack of respect that a lot of our young people have for our elders, because we quick to judge the young people.
Wow.
We've been so quick to judge our younger generation, but have never taken the time to even holler at them and talk to them collectively.
You're right.
Like we used to. Back in the day, something went down, I'm going to tell your mama. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You going to talk to them, you may get a whooping from them. But you're going to talk to them, and you're going to let the mama know or daddy know. I'm going to let, Mr. Johnny, I'm going to let Miss Shirley know. But nowadays, they don't even want to talk to young people.
Right. That's deep.
And see, I always go back to my partners in the hood. I always call those that I was raised in the streets with for their birthdays. I call them. I go play dominoes with them here and there every now and then. I'm not going to hang around with them like I used to because I know they still into, a lot of them still into
and they are.
what they into. And that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm
never, they know that my status, my title, who I am as an individual doesn't change me internally, who I really am and how I feel about them. I love them. You understand? I can go kick it with them at any time and get love from the streets.
I know you're right.
In spite of the fact that I'm here, there, or wherever, doing this, that, and the third, or got this title or position. And that's different than most people. They can't relate to the hood. They can't relate to these young people because they don't have a relationship with them. They don't have a relationship with them. And so if you don't have a relationship with them, how they going to have a relationship with you? How they going to respect you?
That's good.
You understand?
No,
and so
right.
Everybody ain't going to go to church.
That's right.
Everybody ain't going to go to the community center for this program, or this, that, and the third. But I know I grew up where we would attract, when I was trying to help people change their life, we would attract them with, rap. We would do gospel rap when we was trying to change our lives. We would do basketball or football. I would be coaching
gatherings.
I would be able to have a relationship with them kids as they was growing up. And although they was, into what they was into, they would never do it around us. Or they would be like respectful, like, I ain't gonna do it around Mr. Jeff or Mr. Prince or Mr. Glenn or Mr. Major or the guys that I was around, Mr. Fred, Mr. David. All of us was imparting our lives into these kids, but we spent time with them. We gave them something other than just preaching to them or just judging them. And so I really want us to have a twofold approach with this, that we are reaching out to our younger generation.
That's
too,
right. You're right. That is excellent.
Because we got to protect our elders, but we can't just be on the defense.
And so you're right.
We got to be on the offense.
That's an excellent point.
Also, we have to do our best to reach out to those that are committing these crimes or that have that type of mindset. Because unless we change them, we're going to always be on the defense trying to protect our elders. And we can't be around them all 24/7. We don't have the people, the manpower, the resources. So anyway.
The bridge they got. You're right. That's an excellent point.
I just really, appreciate you for coming on and sharing
Thank you for having me.
Your story about your father. Definitely plan to work with you, and we want to continue to seek justice and answers. And again, if you're that good Samaritan that's out there, or if you saw anything on that particular day involving, Reverend Hicks, please don't hesitate to reach out. I know you're trying to work with Crime Stoppers to offer a reward. We want to do what we can to try to get justice for your dad, but also we need to work collaboratively together to try to address
You're right.
the issues that are going on in our communities with our elders as well as with our young people.
You're right. Excellent point. That's the next one. I need to hear that, especially about the young people. You're right.
All right. Well, hey, look, guys, I appreciate y'all for tuning in to Real Talk Junkies on the day. If you know something or if you see something, say something, let us know. And we appreciate you so much in advance if you could help us. But also, let's do what we can as a community to protect our young people as best we can. And check out the latest article that was written in the Forward Times, Hands Off Our Elderly. Make sure you go to forwardtimes.com. Again, that's forwardtimes.com. And I need you to pick up that